If you don't have influence, you will never be able to lead others. So how do you measure influence? Here's a story to answer that question. In late summer of 1997, people were jolted by two events that occurred less than a week apart: the deaths of Princess Diana and Mother Teresa. On the surface, the two women could not have been more different. One was a tall, young, glamorous princess from England who circulated in the highest society. The other, a Nobel Peace Prize recipient, was a small, elderly Catholic nun born in Albania, who served the poorest of the poor in Calcutta, India. What's incredible is that their impact was remarkably similar. In a 1996 poll published by the London Daily Mail, Princess Diana and Mother Teresa were voted in first and second places as the world's two most caring people. That's something that doesn't happen unless you have a lot of influence. How did someone like Diana come to be regarded in the same way as Mother Teresa? The answer is that she demonstrated the power of the law of influence. In 1981, Diana became the most talked about person on the globe when she married Prince Charles of England. Nearly 1 billion people watched Diana's wedding ceremony televised from St. Paul's Cathedral. And since that day, it seemed people never could get enough news about her. People were intrigued with Diana, a commoner WHO had once been a kindergarten teacher. At first she seemed painfully shy and totally overwhelmed by all the attention she and her new husband were receiving. Early in their marriage, some reports stated that Diana wasn't very happy performing the duties expected of her as a royal princess. However, in time she adjusted to her new role. As she started traveling and representing the royal family around the world at various functions, she quickly made it her goal to serve others and raise funds for numerous charitable causes. And during the process, she built many important relationships with politicians, organizers of humanitarian causes, entertainers, and heads of state. At first, she was simply a spokesperson and catalyst for fundraising, but as time went by, her influence increased, and so did her ability to make things happen. Diana started rallying people to causes such as AIDS research, care for people with leprosy, and a ban on landmines. She was quite influential in bringing that last issue to the attention of the world's leaders. On a visit to the United States just months before her death, she met with members of the Clinton administration to convince them to support the Oslo Conference banning the devices. And a few weeks later, they made changes in their position. Patrick Fuller of the British Red Cross said, "The attention she drew to the issue influenced Clinton. She put the issue on the world agenda, there's no doubt about that." In the beginning, Diana's title had merely given her a platform to address others, but she soon became a person of influence in her own right. In 1996, when she was divorced from Prince Charles, she lost her title, but that loss didn't at all diminish her impact on others. Instead, her influence continued to increase while that of her former husband and in-laws declined, despite their royal titles and position. Why? Diana instinctively understood the law of influence. Ironically, even in death Diana continued to influence others. When her funeral was broadcast on television and BBC radio, it was translated into 44 languages. NBC estimated that the total audience numbered as many as 2.5 billion people, more than twice the number of people who watched her wedding. Princess Diana has been characterized in many ways. But one word that I've never heard used to describe her is leader. Yet that's what she was. Ultimately, she didn't make an impact because she once had a title. She made things happen because she was an influencer, and leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. People have so many misconceptions about leadership. When they hear that someone has an impressive title or an assigned leadership position, they assume that he is a leader. Sometimes that's true. But titles don't have much value when it comes to leading. True leadership cannot be awarded, appointed, or assigned. It comes only from influence, and that can't be mandated. it has to be earned. The only thing a title can buy is a little time, either to increase your level of influence with others or to erase it. One of my favorite stories that illustrates the law of influence concerns Abraham Lincoln. In 1832, years before he became president, young Lincoln gathered together a group of men to fight in the Black Hawk War. In those days, the person WHO put together a volunteer company for the militia often became its leader and assumed a commanding rank. In this instance, Lincoln had the rank of captain. But Lincoln had a problem. He knew nothing about soldiering. He had no prior military experience, and he knew nothing about tactics. He had trouble remembering the simplest military procedures. For example, one day Lincoln was marching a couple of dozen men across a field and needed to guide them through a gate into another field. But he couldn't manage it. Recounting the incident later, Lincoln said, "I could not for the life of me remember the proper word of command for getting my company endwise. Finally, as we came near the gate, I shouted, 'This company is dismissed for 2 minutes, when it will fall in again on the other side of the gate.'" As time went by, Lincoln's level of influence with others in the militia actually decreased. While other officers proved themselves and gained rank, Lincoln found himself going in the other direction. He began with the title and position of captain, but they did him little good. He couldn't overcome the law of influence. By the end of his military service, Abraham Lincoln found his rightful place, having achieved the rank of private. Fortunately for Lincoln, and for the fate of our country, he overcame his inability to influence others. He followed his undistinguished career in the military with stints in the Illinois State Legislature and the U.S. House of Representatives. But over time and with much effort and personal experience, he became a person of remarkable influence and impact. Here is a favorite leadership proverb: "He who thinks he leads, but has no followers, is only taking a walk." If you can't influence others, they won't follow you. And if they won't follow, you're not a leader. That's the law of influence. No matter what anybody else tells you, remember that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less.